Yeah, so we're going to talk about water quality in urban landscapes. I'm actually going to just give high-level bullet point overviews of four different projects that we have at various stages. The four projects are the four quadrants that you see up here. They're all related to water quality and urban residential landscapes and how the things we do on the land affect our water quality. But you'll see they're at various different stages. So first, what we do on the land and how that affects things. So this is our digging holes in people's yards project. We did a 3-year study. It was actually 2 years with COVID in between, looking at how nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, leach through people's backyards or front yards here in Alachua County. In the first year, we did a business as usual, just to see what's happening. The second year, we looked at what happens if we control the fertilizer application rates, the different types of chemicals you apply, and look at what happens in that in response to different fertilizer treatments. What we found is that if you apply synthetic fertilizer or if you hire a professional, which is what we did, we hired professionals to do this, synthetic fertilizer leaches 90 times as much nitrogen over a year as a natural landscape. Just having a yard without applying any fertilizer, that's our control in green here, leaches 30 times more nitrogen than a natural landscape. So if you don't even apply fertilizer, you're still going to leach 30 times more nitrogen than a forested area in a similar region. And so our next steps for this is to look at longer term effects, look at surface runoff instead of just nutrient leaching, and also kind of listen to what the turf grass managers, turf grass scientists know. They know how to do this better than I do. I'm a water quality guy, not a plant guy. Speaking of water, the next project that I'll talk about is our People on Ponds project. This is our NSF funded project that Hike touched on earlier. This project is looking at how different parts of society value stormwater ponds and then what our expectations of ponds do in terms of how those ponds are managed and then how those ponds respond to that management, right? So we want to see, okay, what do people expect? How does that change how often they call their pond manager to kill all the algae or to pull all the weeds? And then what does that do to the actual functioning that those ponds are providing? And so this project, we just started the sampling in January. This is a picture. Oh, that's the wrong button. It's a picture up here of my postdoc and lab technician deploying a buoy in somebody's pond to measure oxygen and photosynthesis rates. Down here is just data showing that two different communities, Gainesville and Lakewood Ranch. These are 10 different ponds in both communities, and it's complicated multivariate statistics, but what that shows is those two communities have different water quality in their ponds. Very distinct water quality characteristics. And actually, if you look at ponds within a community, every pond is different. Every pond is a unicorn. And so we're trying to figure out why. And I'll also note in terms of how much our ponds and their ecosystem service is worth. Just yesterday, my PhD student Audrey Geckner resubmitted a manuscript looking at pond denitrification or nitrogen removal. And I was just curious. And so I looked at her data and I did a back of the envelope calculation of, okay, she had 20 ponds that she studied. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull this up on my phone, actually, because I just did the calculations. 20 ponds in her study, and she looked at the maximum denitrification rates, and it was about 433 micrograms of nitrogen removed per meter squared per day. That means nothing to you, right? But you can scale that up to every single pond throughout the state of Florida, which Basil and colleagues have already estimated. And if you scale that up, that equates to a removal of more than 270,000 kilograms of nitrogen by stormwater ponds every year, which would equate to more than $1.3 billion of nitrogen removal benefits for the state. However, Audrey's paper also showed that those ponds are so variable that the lowest rate of denitrification actually was a negative value. So ponds are actually a source of nitrogen to the environment to the amount of about $1.2 billion of a cost to the state. So there's a lot of variability in there, right? And so we want to figure out in this project what's driving the net benefit or negative impact of these stormwater ponds and how can we manage them to be better and remove their negative impacts. And one way that we're looking at that is how do ponds and streams affect downstream water quality. Audrey did a in-lab experiment using these artificial streams that are in the greenhouse near Fraser Rogers in the Fraser Rogers parking lot, if you know that. These are greenhouses that are run by Amanda Sobolewski and Chris Dutton in biology, but Audrey added different amounts of pond and stream water to these streams and combine them to see how mixing of these two different microbial communities might affect their biogeochemical processes, nutrient removal, and whether pond or stream algae win, basically. What she found that is if you add up to about 40% pond water and 20% or 40% stream water, 60% pond water, you get this kind of threshold approach where adding just a little bit more pond water really changes the dynamics of the system. And then finally, urban streams are fun. I want to do more work in there, but I've got to stop. So yeah, thanks.